Here's the one thing that no one told me after I received a cancer diagnosis, and it changed everything. It had nothing to do with treatment and everything to do with how I talked to myself, what I believed, and how I chose to feel. So, if you're drowning in emotions, this might be the turning point for you too. So, the day that I received my diagnosis, it was absolutely the last thing I was expecting, as I'm sure was the same for you. But what happened was there were multiple mammograms done, the squishing part. And then that person called in another person who did it a few more times. And I'm like, even though this is my first time, which was another weird thing, I don't think it's supposed to go like this. So I was getting a little nervous. And then when they took me in to do an ultrasound instead, I'm like, uh-oh, this really doesn't look good. Now, I'm living in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, which at the time, 26 years ago, was a really small place. And I didn't speak perfect Spanish. So when they said that it looked bad, I understood that. And I'm like, yeah, I can see it. It was on a little TV screen, like in an old motel TV where it was up on the ceiling. No, it doesn't look good. And that was my moment of knowing, even before technically being diagnosed. And that was on a Friday at about 5 o'clock. I brought my husband with me because I thought, we'll just go to dinner after this. No big deal, my first mammogram. And so when that happened, and I was in that room of the ultrasound, getting dressed, knowing that when I walked out of the door of that room, I was going to be directly in this little waiting room where my husband was. And I thought, I'll wait till I get outside to tell him. So I'm thinking, what am I going to say so that he doesn't freak out? And even before I was thinking about what does this mean for me, I was trying to figure out what are those words that you say to people when something like this happens. And so we walked outside and I told him what they saw. And we started walking, and I stopped in the middle of the street, which you can do here because there was no traffic. And I stopped in the middle of the street before we got to the car, and I said, you know what? I don't feel like this is a death sentence. I feel like this is a wake-up call. I feel like I just got whacked with a 2x4, and I'm going to figure out what I'm supposed to learn here, and I'm going to do it. He's used to hearing things like that from me before. He considers me to be very woo-woo, so it wasn't out of the norm. And that is part of my belief system. That's where I immediately went. I've been a student of A Course in Miracles now for over 30 years. So at that time, 5 or 6 years. And so that was my thought. I didn't have what's probably considered a normal reaction, but is there really a normal reaction? Because I think every single person that hears those words, and I didn't actually hear them until the next morning, has their own very personal thoughts that are going through their head based on what their life situation is, what their mindset is, what their belief system is, what the language is that they use to talk to themselves. And that all factors in. But, there's a huge emotional weight that's there. And It's fear, it's immediate overwhelm, it's confusion, it's shock. And so all that is like this big whirlwind that's immediate. And the thing is, it starts taking your power away instantly. So we pretty much already knew what she was going to say when we got in there. And when she looked at it, she said, "Yeah, this is cancer. And I'm going to give you someone that you can go to for a second opinion." And that was 2.5 hours away. So we made arrangements to do that a couple days later. And that's a whole other story. But the thing is, the initial reaction was seeing the ultrasound. And then the big thing was having someone say that out loud and knowing that this is really happening. I'm really moving forward with this experience. And now I have to go somewhere else. And now there's a third medical person involved in this. And I don't know what they're going to say. And with each person that gets involved, it feels like your power is getting taken away more and more. And it's like, don't worry about this. We're professionals. We'll take care of it. Just do this, do this, do this. And it's almost like you're on a conveyor belt and you're just moving through. And so the emotional chaos that creates is real. And so is the pressure to just follow the treatment plan and be positive. It's in some ways easier to do that because it's harder to get yourself into alignment at that point and say, okay, I'm going to take a minute here and I'm going to check in with myself and see where I'm at with this, see what I believe, what I think I should do. Not that I'm a doctor, but for me personally, I believe that we all have an inner knowing. And if we get quiet and we listen to that, then we're going to feel stronger, more aligned, more congruent within ourselves. And that allows us to stand in our own power, really. And I know I've said that word several times, but really that's a huge part of this whole journey is taking back your power. And so the secret for me was that I quickly figured out that I needed to shift my emotions out of fear and overwhelm and into emotions that were going to propel me forward and put me back in control of what was going on. And it also opened up a portal, if you want to call it that, a space where I thought, okay, I need to look at what my beliefs and my language are to make sure that I'm not believing things, thinking things, saying things externally or internally in my inner dialogue that will contribute to the situation, feed it, make it worse. So I never said, I have cancer. I never said my cancer diagnosis. I never said my at all. I try my best to be very intentional in the way I frame it by saying, I received a diagnosis of breast cancer. Can you feel the difference between saying, I have breast cancer and saying, I have received a diagnosis of breast cancer. You feel the energy of the distance that creates because it's there. It's there energetically. And it does make a huge difference the way you talk to yourself. It shifts the energy inside your body. It shifts the cellular response that you're having because your cortisol is not all hyped up when you're saying something that is at a distance, like it is when you say I am or I have, as if it's a part of your being. Then it's like pushing that button, a red alert saying, we've got a problem here, and all your cells go into overdrive, and that cortisol, the stress hormone, shoots up. And before you know it, you are so anxious and stressed and overwhelmed and in fear, and everything is just swirling around. So part of getting to that calmer place is initially saying, this is something that I'm dealing with because it is happening, but I'm not taking ownership of it. It's not mine, even though it's happening in my body. So that's one thing that I would say is a powerful way to start, is putting that distance there. And there are many, many other things that go into the emotions and beliefs and language that we can use that will keep us stuck or move us forward. So it's important that you're able to reframe this and give yourself that power back. It helps you to be grounded and clear and emotionally stronger. Are you still going to freak out from time to time? Maybe at every appointment that you have. But the thing is, as soon as you feel that, then you can quickly take a deep breath, ground yourself, and go, you know what? I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I am handling this. I am calm. I am at peace. I am doing everything I can. And we can talk about what those things are as well. But just taking care of yourself, talking to yourself in a positive, nurturing way makes a difference. And the one thing that I would ground you with right now is changing the language that you use around the diagnosis and break the habit of saying I have or my. I know you didn't choose this diagnosis. Nobody would. But you can choose how you speak to yourself through it. And I hope that you can find hope, even if it's a very serious diagnosis. And give yourself permission to feel everything that you're feeling. Allow it. Allow it to come out fully. It won't overwhelm you if you give it that space and allow it and comfort yourself. So you can feel the emotions and still reclaim your power. The question I want to ask you is, what does power mean to you right now? Now that you're in the middle of this, I would appreciate it if you would share it, because it will not only empower you more by writing it and saying it, but it may just empower someone else to see their journey differently. So if this gave you a new way of thinking about the diagnosis that you received, then tap that like button, maybe subscribe to my channel. It really does help the channel. It helps other women be able to see this. And if you're still feeling stuck, in survival mode, stay tuned. We're going to talk about how to shift into calm even when everything is chaotic.